Welcome, Next Gen fam. We got another amazing edition of Next Gen Marketing Visionary Awards. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Jabari Hearn, VP of Brand at Lyft. Jabari, thank you so much for being here.
Andrew, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Excited to be here to talk about the next generation.
We cannot wait. I got to tell everybody, they got to get these pens and paper out. We're about to dive in, but before we do that, we're going to have a little fun. So, you can play along at home, but Jabari, we're going to start off with some quick fire, rapid questions. Let people get to know you, let you get a little comfortable on the, virtual next gen stage. So we're going to stick with, one word, one sentence answers. But we'll try to make you sweat a little bit, have a little bit of fun.
I like it. I've always wanted to be on a game show. This is perfect.
Awesome. Well, it's not the Ellen DeGeneres game show, but we'll take it, a step back and try to have some fun. But to start off, Jabari, what is one book that you would recommend everybody read right now?
I actually just finished reading Tribe by Sebastian Junger, and it just talked about, the state of our tribes and how important that is in our lives.
Absolutely love that. We'll make sure I pick up a copy and dive in as well. Next on, what is one productivity hack that you use for your day-to-day work?
Ooh, I have a to-do list that I write down the night before, little boxes, and I write my to-dos in it and I check them off as I go. Without my to-do list on my notebook, I'm lost. I don't even know what day it is half the time. So that's what I try to do. I prepare the night before for the day, the next day ahead. And that usually gets me in the right mindset to be productive for the day. I
love that. Did that start later in your career? Or has that been always something that you've been doing since you were a kid?
I think I got that when I got to Google. Google, I learned a lot of productivity tips in terms of the tools that you can use. And there's so much going on there that if you don't have a few things to keep you organized, you can get lost and get buried. So that was something I learned maybe just 3 or 4 years ago.
I love that. Next on the docket, are you a coffee or a tea person?
I'm a coffee person. I drink coffee every morning, but I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't have the milk and all the other stuff. So people are surprised that I drink black coffee with a little bit of sugar.
Wow. So straight black, no milk alternative, no almond milk, oat milk. All right.
I've tried all of those, but I like just straight caffeine.
I absolutely love that. It's indicative of your energy too. Last rapid fire for you. What is one wellness tip that you use for yourself?
Sleep. I believe you sleep and drinking a lot of water, that beats a lot of the other wellness things that are going on. I am on my Peloton every morning, but the simple things, no matter how much money you have or don't, sleep and water are easiest things to kind of get yourself together.
Am I allowed to ask your favorite Peloton instructor?
I'm kind of obsessed with Allie Love.
I am right there with you. Her music is the best. She's great.
Yeah.
Well, you made it through. We got a little shout out for Miss Allie Love, but thank you for making it through the rapid fire questions. Jabari, I'm so pumped to be able to dive in today and share your story. I've been gotten the fortune of being able to listen to some of your background and hear where you came from. But for the audience, kind of take us through, the beginning. You're coming out of SMU undergrad. Did you know you wanted to be in marketing? How'd you really get your start?
So I got my start by accident, actually. I wanted to be an architect. I'm from Chicago, and I grew up in a town called Oak Park. Oak Park is home of Frank Lloyd Wright, which is a famous architect of beautiful designed homes. And so I grew up looking at Frank Lloyd Wright houses as a kid and wanting to be an architect. When I got my basketball scholarship to SMU, I took that scholarship because I wanted to get far away from Chicago, far away from the cold and shoveling snow and raking leaves. That was not my idea of fun. So I wanted to go where it was warm, beautiful people, and a great basketball team. Unfortunately, they did not have an architecture program. So I got into mechanical engineering. And so for anybody who's a mechanical engineer, you realize that that's not architecture. And so I quickly realized that was not for me and moved into advertising. And when I started my first advertising class, it was just like I felt at home. It was a mixture of business and creativity. It reminded me of my love of my Michael Jordan posters I had all over my room growing up. And I realized then that if I could do advertising for Nike, that would be a pretty kick-ass job.
Yeah, and the coolest part is you got there. I think
Yes.
A lot of people say that, the dream, and then they don't actually end up there. So piece together for us that, journey, that story, starting out on the agency side, moving over to Nike, Google, and now ultimately Lyft. For the audience listening, wanting to emulate that success, what was the, trajectory for you? What is that kind of path?
Yeah, I mean, the trajectory for me has always been about people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sort of put myself in this awesome position. It's always been somebody who saw me doing a great job and then helped me get to the next job. And so when I was my first job out of college, I got lucky because I was doing a kids counseling camp, a basketball camp for SMU as a senior in college. And one of the kids that I was really close with and mentoring was the son of Jake Schreffner, who was the president of DDB Needham in Dallas at the time. I didn't know that. I was graduating with an advertising degree, and the last day of camp, Jake walked up to me and said, "Oh, my son loves you. I really appreciate what you're doing. I love how you work hard on the basketball court. What degree are you graduating with?" And I told him advertising. He's like, "I just happen to be president of DDB. Come see me." So right when I graduated, I had his business card and I went to go see him. And it was because of what I was doing on the basketball court, how the relationship I had with his son. I was doing extracurricular activities with SMU and coaching young kids. That was the thing that got me noticed, not my work and not my degree. It was how I was treating other people. Wow. And from there, when I was working at DDB, I worked on foot action and got really close with some sports accounts. And when you do foot action advertising, you actually would partner with Nike in that production, right? Because we use Nike athletes, but the wholesaler was foot action. And in that production, I met a bunch of people from Wieden and Kennedy. And at that time, I called myself the Black Unicorn. I wasn't a lot of people in advertising that looked like me or had a background like me. Mm-hmm. And so that got the attention of Wieden and Kennedy because they were looking for somebody who knew advertising, knew sports, knew this thing that was rising called urban culture. At the time, it was rap culture, but it was moving to the center to be more youth culture and popular culture. And there weren't many people in the advertising world that had all of those experiences that can bring all those together. So when I met a young man who was a writer, Jonathan Cood, on a foot action shoot, he was the one who brought my name up to Wieden and Kennedy. And I ended up getting a call saying, "Hey, you fit the mold for exactly what we're looking for. You did a great job on that shoot. We'd love to come talk to you." And so that was another person that saw me do a great job at DDB and brought me over to Wieden and Kennedy. And from there, tried to do a great job at Wieden and Kennedy. And I went away from Wieden after 2 years, did a bunch of other things in my career. And when I got the call again from Nike, probably almost 10 years later, it was somebody who I worked with when I was at Wieden and Kennedy. And they remembered, "Oh, Jabari, I know that name. There can't be that many Jabaris in advertising." And it made me think about the relationships you have, how you treat people where you are will come back one way or another later on in your career. And luckily I had a great relationship with people. And when they saw my name, they remembered fond things and not things that they hated.
So many amazing things to pull out there. And I think, steer our conversation here. One thing that's resonating with me is this idea of, you're a mentor when you're a senior in college, and that's what actually got you your, first job. And I think, this other piece of you describing yourself as a Black unicorn and being different. I think, so many people, especially in our world now, can relate and say, that they want to see that for themselves. I've heard you talk about wanting to incorporate this idea of mentorship into the, D&I, diversity and inclusion conversation. Can you share more on that and how, mentorship beyond kind of getting you that first job has impacted you in your life and why you think it's so important to bring that into our world now?
Yes, I heard a stat around, the natural resources that people of color have versus non-people of color. And so when you think about, going into a job, a person of color and a non-person of color are created equal for sake of argument. And they're given the same development tools within that organization. What they don't have is the same amount of support and tools outside of that organization. Some of our non-Black, friends may have an uncle that owned his own business, an aunt that, has the same degree or went to the same college and can leverage her contacts and resources, somebody who sort of did the same job as you. People of color don't always have that sort of set around them. And I found that it's really important for me to provide that. You know, there's no way I could have gotten where I've gotten without mentorship. And I found that that's a really important piece, especially for the mid-level executive out there. I think you have a more junior cohort that has a lot of resources for them, intern programs, you know, young programs, and there's a lot of people and companies focus on youth. When you get to the more senior levels, you've built a career, you've built a rapport with people, and you have resources at the more senior level. Even in the company, you have executive coaching that is provided for you, for example, at Lyft. But there's a big, juicy middle of people who are lost. They have nothing for them. They may be wanting to switch careers. They may want to, get to another company, and there's nothing for them. There's nobody there to help them figure out how to tell their story, how to fix their LinkedIn and resume, how to create a elevator pitch about who you are, what podcasts or places to sort of tell your story, right? And who can help you get there. And so without mentorship and somebody helping you through that journey, a lot of people are lost and they end up not making the right next steps or putting themselves in the best position to get to that next role. And so I really think you have diversity, which is thinking about a broader swath of people. You have inclusion, which is making sure they feel a part of the experience. But mentorship and sponsorship is about making sure that once they get there and they're a part of this, they can also they can move ahead. And you have somebody actually making sure that you're doing the right things to get to the next level within that organization and beyond. And I think that that's what's been lost. And that's why you're seeing a lot of senior executives leave these organizations and either start their own businesses or go to another company, which then creates a little bit of fear and anxiety for the people of color that are beneath them. They're saying, well, if this senior person is leaving, it can't be great for me. And so I think we have to focus on a little bit more of that senior cohort to then provide more support and mentorship for the more junior people in an organization.
I think, one thing that I've been pulling out of a lot of the stuff that you're sharing and, the stuff that I kind of was able to learn before we jumped on is that you're super passionate about helping other people. I think whether it's wanting to even just entertain conversations with your peers about what's going on in the world of COVID or, giving back in this area of mentorship or, a program that you spearheaded at Lyft, this Lyft Up program, which, would love for you to be able to share more about that and how you're really, I think, helping others, adding value as a marketer is something that you do so well. So if you can give us a little bit on the Lyft Up program, the thought behind it and how it aligns perfectly with, Lyft's brand in your mind.
Absolutely. When I first heard about the opportunity at Lyft, I never thought about transportation as a career. And when I met John Zimmer, who is the president and founder at Lyft, he talked to me about his vision for Lyft and how transportation plays just such an integral role in society and how cities are built around cars, really, and not people. And about how we're soon going to subscribe to transportation very much like we subscribe to music and movies and other things, right? And when I thought about the impact of transportation on my community, it really hit home. My grandfather lived on one side of the tracks. On the other side of the tracks is where wealthy and, educated people lived. There are people in the south side and the west side of Chicago where there's transportation deserts. They can't get to healthcare appointments. They can't get to their job. They can't get to healthy food. 15 million people did not get to vote in the last election because they didn't have a ride to the polls, which is just ridiculous. And so when he hit sort of these things that it really isn't about transportation, it's really about civic life and society. And those things are sort of impacted the Black community a little bit more than others. I had to sort of jump in there. And Lyft Up was nothing when I got there, right? Lyft was doing a ton in the cities and in the communities to help people in the communities, but nobody knew about it. And so when I got and talked to John and I heard about these things, I'm like, we have to figure out how to package this up and make sure that people know about what you're doing in these communities. And so we launched Lyft Up. We rebranded those social impact activities as Lyft Up. We wanted to make sure our brand was front and center in that branding. And also what we were trying to do to communities were front and center in that language. We want to lift communities up. And it's been the most rewarding thing I've done since I've gotten to Lyft. And surprisingly, anyone will take your call when you're talking about doing something for the community. right? LeBron James is not interested in most of the things that people are doing unless it aligns with his values and what's important to him. And luckily, when I worked with LeBron at Nike, I knew that kids were his focus. And he really loved bikes. And he thought that that was a way to sort of provide agency and freedom to youth who may want to go see their friends or girlfriend or boyfriend, or even go to a sports practice, right? It was freedom for young kids. So we partnered with LeBron, and we're able to, in multiple cities, provide free bike memberships to kids, right? If you think about New York City, no kid is getting their keys to their parents' car at 16 anymore, right? Many people don't even own cars in sort of major cities. So these days, when you turn 16, you should be getting a Lyft membership, right? Or a membership to our shared bike program so that you can get around. And that's what we're partnering with LeBron to do.
I mean, it's amazing and so forward thinking and so many little nuggets of wisdom in there. And I think, it's clear that it's a piece of you, and it's like, you imparting something onto the next generation of young kids, of people, as we kind of look towards almost the end of our time, which is crazy. It couldn't be a Next Gen Marketing Visionary Award conversations without talking about the future. So looking into the long game, where do you think the marketing industry is going in the next 10 to 20 years? And how do you think people have to adapt to kind of deal with these changes?
I don't think the marketing industry is going anywhere. I don't think about the marketing industry like it's this big giant that's coming up over the mountaintop. The marketing industry is nothing but people. Marketing is only an understanding of people, right? And so what I'm trying to do is simplify these things. There's so many more digital tools and measurements and metrics that people are sort of trying to connect to. But ultimately, you're trying to connect to people. And that is a basic human connection. Either I care or I don't care. Either I feel it or I don't feel it. Either it matters in my life or it doesn't. And I think we have to get back to basic human connection. I think COVID has done that for us. It's actually leveled us all so that we feel like we're all on the same page. We're all together. And to quote something from that book Tribe that I talked about, that's about getting back to basics and really understanding your community and serving that community. And that's just the basics of marketing.
Wow. You just finished the most perfect interview of all time. Tie in the beginning, right back at the end. Jabari, before we do jump off, any closing thoughts, pieces of advice, words of wisdom that you'd want to give to anybody in the next generation watching, being inspired by your incredible story, incredible vision to change our future with what you're doing at Lyft?
Yes, my advice is there are only two states of life, and two states of being. I believe either you're driving or you're being dragged. And if you don't know where you are in your career right now and on your journey right now, that means you're being dragged. And that means that somebody can take you wherever they want to take you. You need to have a mission, a vision, positioning, tactics, measurement, an approach to where you want to go. And the sooner you are clear about where you want to go, the world will start to conspire with you. There's a quote from The Alchemist that says, when you know what you want, the world conspires with you. And so that's the hard part, knowing what you want. Right. And so the faster people can get there, and that can change throughout your life, but the faster that you can get there, the sooner then you can put the things in place to actually get you there. And that's where people can help you get there as well. And so focus on where you want to go. And that's easy for people to help you get there.
You know where you want to go, the world conspires to help you get there. A wonderful, wonderful quote to close us off. Jabari, thank you so much for joining us here on Next Gen HQ.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really excited, and I hope this was useful to your audience.
Definitely.